So with any luck, this is gonna fire just fine. 3, 2, 1, fire. Hello and welcome to the channel. For today's video, we are on a game called Gamecraft. Also, I think it's referred to as Robocraft X, or Robocraft X is part of Gamecraft. Either way, it is made by FreeJam, the same guys that developed Robocraft. And the concept is quite simple. You build games in it for other people to play. Basically, it's kind of like Scrap Mechanic, but more oriented around levels. That didn't stop me from, as you saw in the intro, of trying to make some crazy contraption. The idea is a rapid-firing projectile launching thing. I have not gotten one to work properly yet due to the physics in the engine. They can't handle all the projectiles up here, so the physics engine starts to break down very quickly. So we've tried the vertical spinny thing, which was attempted to be a Gatling gun for me to figure out my firing mechanism, which is a disc that is on two U-joints here, with another one here so that it can tilt. The springs center it, then this wheel down here comes up and off-centers it. And when that off-centers it, it pushes this little thing into the sensor range. The sensor range activates the gate. The gate will then release the ball that's lined up here down the barrel and line another one up. The same thing was on the spinny one, just instead of using centrifugal force, there was a second set of rams intending to launch it up. But the second you add any kind of material to these rams, the friction is insane. They cannot handle any kind of friction. They just slow down, they lose all their velocity. So that wasn't gonna work. So then we tried the spinning Gatling gun. Not enough, either not enough friction or contact time for the wheels to actually impart enough energy onto the balls, whether it be oiled spheres. I tried iron, I tried rubber, I tried the aluminum. None of that worked. So real quick, I think a demonstration is owed. Frame rate really suffers, and I actually don't know why. Nothing loads up, but this game is incredibly early access, so we'll leave it at that. It may not be optimized yet, hence why we get immediate frame drops the second centrifugal force comes into play on all the projectiles. So once we hit RPM, everything's spinning around, we can activate. So I've been playing Scrap Mechanic. E is the activate button. And here that changes between build and test. Click. These buttons up here are just manual gate controls to open them up, to clear them out if they get jammed. Because again, centrifugal force seems to play a huge part. I actually can't spin this any faster. I did do some experiments with more motors to try and get more velocity out of it, and there seems to be a point where, I don't know, centrifugal force meets rotational mass and math happens and things go wrong and it starts acting like someone's beating on it with a sledgehammer. It doesn't work. All right, now that we've hit speed, now we click the button and they're almost all jammed. That went... There we go, now they're going the right way. And then we get this wonderful dribbling of ammunition over here. And frame rate usually comes back once they're all out, which is why I'm 100% confident it has something to do with these and centrifugal force. And then of course I had this thing where the idea was like a baseball pitcher. There's one wheel down here spinning, well, from this position clockwise. This one's spinning counterclockwise on pneumatic rams, it pushes down. I tried spring-loaded, I tried free-floating, I tried fixed. I could not find a single setup that would actually impart enough energy onto these to shoot them down. Originally, this barrel was enclosed, and all they would do is they would start bup, 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 bup. And so I imagine that even oiled steel on oiled steel, there's still a friction issue. And then of course I thought maybe it was an issue, the fact that I couldn't. That's actually probably 3. That is probably the best result I've had so. That is definitely the best result I've had so far. But then you always get that one that kind of gets jambled back here. So we have a clear button. I'm not gonna lie, that is the best this thing has ever performed. All right, with that being said, this is pathetic. The other machine, pathetic. So what I want to create a proper one. I think we need to go back in technology. I think what I've been trying to do is just too complicated for the game in this stage, or maybe even what this game is capable of as far as physics go. It's time to go back and see maybe something older will work. I'm thinking an aimable, automatic reloading, automatic firing catapult. What I'll end up with, as you again saw in the intro, maybe something entirely less impressive. But with that being said, time to get to work. Back in a minute. Alright, well, that looked like a success. We have our first... I can't figure out how to get out of this thing. Now, the only reason you can hook the pilot seat up to some things, but not a whole lot just yet. I really just put it there so my camera would quit pivoting around. But that was test 1. We catapulted something. So finally, the first projectile launching mechanism to actually launch a projectile as intended. If you're familiar with the game, you know that you can scale items. So you can do stuff like this and this. The problem is, and the reason I didn't do that for any of these pieces here that required longer, is because when you go to remove it, it's in the game as one object. So seeing as I don't know what I'm doing yet, and unless you already have a design all mathed out, it's going to be kind of difficult to tell. Now, one of the things I'm noticing right off the bat is I don't think I'm running at like maximum speed. Okay? Holy... seems to go about the same distance. I mean, it's still... Wait a second. Oh, well... I never explored to see the end of the map, so I guess the edge of the map is gonna be our goal. And we've already achieved that. Now for the fun part. I wanna make it a little more compact. I don't like the arm being all up like that. So I wanna bring it down a bit where it's a little more aesthetically pleasing. And then on top of that, I want to make it automatic. Instead of a push button to fire, I want to be able to just click a button and have it start cycling. All right, so I'm going to slim it down, make the automatic mechanism, and we'll be back. Okay, so we've made a juggling machine. Wow, that's actually starting to... Why is that suddenly... There it goes. That's kind of handy. I could probably think of something to do with that. So the problem is that I'm trying to use sensors here. So I have this whole arm contraption, the spring, and the little catch at the bottom allows so that when everything renders in, the arm can droop just enough to trigger this sensor. That'll trigger whatever hopper mechanism I make to drop the first round in. Round goes in, triggers the object stay sensor in there, firing those off, and then as it comes up, when it hits the end of travel, the round will leave and that should reset it. Then, as the arm comes back down, it triggers for the next round, and it should be able to just boom, 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 boom. And then I just need to put a button to manually trigger the release of the first round. Problem is that right now, for some reason, it's only triggering for so much amount of time, and I will have to figure that one out. right, now, well, I've got the automatic firing down. I need to work more into the sequence because now it's not actually resting all the way, and it needs to trigger this. So now I have it kind of stuck in a loop, which I'm actually not sure why it's stuck in a loop. That should be 5, and this should be 2. Did I get it backwards? Easy catapult, old technology. That's what I said. That's what I figured. Why did I think this was going to work the way I thought it was going to work? But I guess that's progress. I will figure out the next step. Holy dear God. Okay, so what was happening was it was actually the inertia of this piece here retracting that was pulling this back out just enough to trigger it, and that was causing it to start the cycle again. So now putting a couple springs in there to help take up that inertia, and as long as balls keep going in, it'll load, and we're getting distance. So, not that much distance, but distance is tunable with power and the hopper design, or the spoon design. So now, what I need to do is now I need to create the hopper system and the gate system. But, step 1, automatic firing catapult. That's a lot of ridiculousness there. But now, step 2, hopper. Gotta get on it. Alrighty, so it has now been 5.5 hours I've been working on this project, but we have aim that triggers everything for some reason. Okay, so we have to be careful with turning because unfortunately things are not fully connected and they have inertial issues. So what's happening is I basically have everything over here too close to each other. Ah, screw it, I can fix it real quick. No jitteriness, no sudden movements of words didn't work there. Of any unexpected kind. I don't know why I got stuck on that. It's done. it is finally finished. And forget the brain aneurysm, but the point is that it doesn't randomly twitch and whatnot when you try and swing it around. If everything goes as planned, which it should, we push that button, okay? Now that button should trigger this arm to drop, which will allow this spring-loaded arm to hit that sensor, which allows that arm to push out and push one round. Then the round falls in there, hits that sensor, which triggers a bunch of stuff for the arm to go. That arm comes up, releasing that sensor, that arm pulls back. Now, when the round falls into there, that sensor, number 5, is going to trigger this piston, and I think this piston. This piston pushes this whole assembly outwards. This piston goes back to hit another sensor to trigger these 2 pistons. So that piston's hitting that sensor now, which keeps this extended, even though the arm will come up and the round may not be perfectly centered on that piston. Meanwhile, this whole assembly has moved out and has hit that sensor, number 2. Number 2 triggers all of this stuff. So that's what actually makes the arm go up. So now that's being held, so the arm goes up, then that hits this sensor, number 6, which runs these 2 and these 2. That extends this, releasing that sensor, and extends this back, releasing that sensor so the arm may fall. Then the arm falls, the spring-loaded arm hits that, and another round gets loaded, in theory. In practice, well, let's see how reliable it is. So these are iron spheres, not lead spheres, which means we'll be putting some iron down range. So with any luck, this is gonna fire just fine. 3, 2, 1, fire. Safety went down, round got loaded, round launched. Holy dear God. It's functioning. And it's out of ammunition, and because it doesn't sense any more rounds going in, it stops. And then if we hit that should bring and actually reset everything. So now if I had a way to put more ammunition in there, we would be able to just turn it back on and go. All right, so last thing I want to do is make sure it can fire while turning. So let's get a little turn going here. Ooh, little turn. Let's bring it back. Wow, is it just me or is it working faster? Ooh, got 2-fer right there. I don't know how that worked. I got another 2-fer. How are 2 rounds getting into the opening in the thing is literally big enough for 1. Okay, there we go. We're back to normal. All right, so there you have it. A fully automatic aimable catapult, or as I like to call it, the AUTOCAT. Whether that's a knockoff 3D modeling software or some kind of robotic feline, that's up to you. In my mind, it is an automatic catapult. Not really rapid fire as I was hoping, but pretty good. So, if you liked the video, subscribe, like, comment, you know the drill. You're probably tired of YouTubers telling you this nonsense. And we will probably, there's more projects I have planned for this game as well as many of the other builder games. I got a little notepad here I've been writing ideas down on. As always, buttons to push. Until next time.